A new report says Taiwan's ties with Europe have strengthened significantly over the last few years. The report from the Central European Institute of Asian Studies said interactions between the EU and Taiwan increased five-fold between 2019 and 2024, and mutual visits have increased more than six-fold, which the report said have become more official and less secret. It also said Europe and Taiwan have signed more agreements in areas like economic ties and legal cooperation, and soft security cooperation has also been expanding. The report comes after a number of high-profile visits to Europe by senior Taiwanese officials, including Vice President Li Qiao, and as Taiwan's foreign minister has said, ties with Europe are entering a new phase. And to learn more about the report's findings, Quaranta sat down with Mate Shimachik, Executive Director of the Central European Institute of Asian Studies, one of the report's authors.
Since the beginning of the 2020s, your report found that Europe-Taiwan ties have seen a sharp uptick. Can you talk about why this is, and why did this uptick begin in the 2020s specifically?
Yeah, so what we've seen was that EU-Taiwan relations have been developing very quickly on the backdrop of successive global crises that are pushing the relationship forward. Why 2020? The key reason there is that towards that period in 2019, essentially already, we've seen Europe waking up from these sort of naive views of China as a beneficial economic partner. This was very prominently seen, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, that was living in this dream of being a potential big benefactor of Chinese investment, but by that time there was expectations fatigue setting in because none of those promises were really materializing. Majority of them ended up being just mere promises, right? Coupled with the deterioration of relations with China during the pandemic, as well as the huge support that Russia receives from China in the war of aggression against Ukraine, that all sort of feeds into why Europe started to have a much more realistic view of China, cognizant of risks and threats, and why it also started to turn towards building relations with alternative partners in the Indo-Pacific region, including with Taiwan.
And then also your report specifically talked about this large uptick in visits between Europe and Taiwan, and also that they're becoming kind of more official and more in the spotlight. Can you talk a little bit about why this is and kind of what kind of interactions we're seeing most of?
Yeah, so there's been a really very sharp uptake on the number of visits happening between Europe and Taiwan. What's crucial is that they are happening both ways. It's not just Taiwanese officials traveling to Europe. Europeans are also increasingly traveling to Taiwan. This shows that the relationship is maturing, that both sides have interest in developing various forms of cooperation. The relationship has been really going from informality towards formality, as well as from being covered into happening very openly. To just illustrate what this means, members of the European Parliament, the body that was or still is very crucial in driving cooperation with Taiwan, were traveling to Taiwan for many years, but always in an unofficial capacity. The first actual official visit from an official parliamentary body, a committee tasked with investigating foreign information manipulation and interference, traveled to Taiwan for the first time ever only in 2021. Besides parliamentarians, we do see also growing engagements on various forms of executive levels, ranging from technical meetings of rank and file officials, but also more often deputy ministers are willing to meet with Taiwanese counterparts.
And you also talked about these kind of soft security cooperation, because there is this growing recognition that Europe and Taiwan have kind of interdependent security needs. I'm wondering, can you talk a little bit about what these soft security cooperation is and why it's important that it's rapidly expanding?
Sure. I think we need to preface that by recognizing that hard security cooperation is still very difficult, right? we don't really see big arms sales from Europe to Taiwan like we do, for example, from US to Taiwan, right? But this taboo on security cooperation that has been long established is slowly eroding thanks to a lot of meaningful cooperation happening in the area of soft security, as you've mentioned. So focusing on topics like supply chain resilience, targeting FIMI, so foreign information manipulation and interference, critical infrastructure protection, and issues like this, right? And this is sensitizing the Europeans to the idea that we can actually have some form of security cooperation with Taiwan that can maybe move on to the more harder topics. And it is also already starting to happen, although it is still masked as commercial cooperation however, in something that we call defense adjacent sectors. So a lot of new trade and investment is happening with Taiwan, for example, in the area of drones. Cooperation with Taiwan on semiconductors is going to be essential for Europe's remilitarization efforts, so that it can protect itself vis-a-vis the Russian threat. But also Taiwan is in a similar position where European firms are very active in helping Taiwan promote its own energy security, something that Taiwan has grave problem with, and that would be a major problem in the case of any sort of Taiwan Strait contingency.